Robin, Everyone Loves the Drake podcast, 5-minute comic book review. Hello, welcome to another 5-minute comic book review. Today we're continuing with the Batman Year 3 saga and looking at Part 3, which is in Batman 438. This came out in 1989, early 1990. And the price here is $1. So from the last time when we did part 2, that was 75 cents. The price has jumped here a whopping 25 cents. But you know, the artwork and the paper looks a little bit better. So maybe I just have a good copy, or maybe they actually made an improvement. I do remember when the books went up from $1. The thing I liked is the Superman books stayed at 75 cents. So that was a good deal until the death of Superman, and then they got really popular, and then they jacked up the price. Alright, so getting into this book, first, another awesome George Perez cover. But I got a problem with the cover. First, well, there's the Batman, the oval, which I still don't get, because in year 1, Batman has no oval, it's just the bat. Then year 2, he's got the oval. But then at the start of year 3, and the Flying Grayson's death, he doesn't have the oval, but now he's back to the oval. So a lot of continuity errors there with the oval, but not as bad as in the Batman animated series, where sometimes the colors switched and it became a black oval with a yellow bat, but I'm not going to go there. Maybe I just went there. But anyway, what I don't like about the cover is it's very misleading of what's in the issue, because you think you're going to get this great Batman and Robin story together, considering that Jason Todd is dead at the time and Dick Grayson's Nightwing. You don't get a lot of great Batman and Robin interaction, and you think you're going to get this great Year 3 story, and in fact, there is hardly any Year 3 stuff in here. There's about 5-panel flashback of Batman and Robin, and it's not even in color, it's in like a muted green color, breaking up some of Tony Zuko's gang. And then there's a little bit of a flashback of Batman talking to Robin about detective work, and a tiny little flashback of Alfred talking to Dick Grayson, and it seems like a lot more than I'm saying here, but there's hardly any. It's almost all set in the present, which is fine, and it's a good story, but it's not a Year 3 story, and I think maybe that's why Year 3 maybe doesn't hold up as well as Year 1 and Year 2, which are all contained all in that first year. This is really whatever year they're in here, and Dick Grayson, judging on his age, and so it's probably been around 7 or 8 years, so it's probably year 10 for Batman and continuity-wise. That said, it starts out with Alfred, and right where we left off with that gun and holding that gun, and Pat Broderick, what I liked about his art, especially in his Green Lantern run, when he relaunched Green Lantern, is his face and his facial expressions, and he's got this really cool, twisted, tormented look on Alfred. I can see where some people may not like it because it's a bit off-model, but I really like that. And if you listen to episode 3 of Robin, Everyone Loves the Drake podcast, and listen to Rob get into this book a little more, he talks about how in his art class they were taught that you're never allowed to point a gun right at somebody on TV, but apparently you are allowed to in comics, because Alfred points the gun right at you in the front here, and then later on Batman, oddly enough, will point the gun right at you. So ever since I listened to Rob say that in the podcast, I've been kind of like, where's the gun pointing? It's over this way, it's over that way. So Rob's kind of put that in my head. But basically, Alfred basically said, look, I can't do it. I'm not going to be able to go over there and kill Tony Zuko. And it kind of reminds me a lot of Batman Begins, when Bruce Wayne brings that gun to try to kill Joe Chill. And, you know, I always wondered, would he have done it? Would he have stepped up and pulled the trigger, and then he would have went to jail and there would have been no Batman? So, or would he have, at that last moment, not done it? But, you know, Joe Chill gets killed by somebody else, so that wasn't an issue. Pat Broderick, his artwork is, like I said, I think this is his best issue for artwork, and I love his shading, and he just does some really interesting shading with lots of lines behind Alfred, and as Nightwing's driving his motorcycle, and it must have took him hours just sitting there doing all these lines, but I really appreciate it. I like it a lot here. And then we see Nightwing's white motorcycle, as Rob called it, the night bike. So listen to podcast number 3 for Rob's take on the bike. And then as Nightwing is riding along on his bike, he's thinking back, and he thinks back to Jason Todd's death. And I'm not really sure how he knows the details of Jason Todd's death, because he complains that Bruce didn't talk to him, but maybe Alfred told him. And I think, and I could be wrong, I think this is the very first retelling of Jason Todd's death since it happened in Death in the Family. You know, we're only a few months from Death in the Family. We get to a scene where Batman is with here's a pretty good Batman here, with the crime bosses where he left off. So from that cliffhanger on the last issue, we finally hear, like halfway through the issue on page, I think it's 8 or so, get to Batman. And Batman's trying to make a deal with the crime bosses. And then we go to Tony Zuko in prison, and Alfred comes to talk to Tony Zuko and kind of offer him the chance to leave Gotham if he'll pay him, and Zuko just laughs at him. And of course the crime bosses don't want to hear anything from Batman, so they start fighting him, and Batman starts beating them up. And what I thought was funny, at one point here, he pulls out a tray, and the crime boss tries to shoot him, hits the tray instead, right out of Batman 89, where Bruce Wayne put that tray under his shirt. And I always wonder, what if Joker, Jack Napier, shot him in the face or the leg or somewhere else other than right where that one little tray was. But luckily for Batman then and Batman now, that tray saves him. And then here, Batman points the gun right at you. So, oof, rough stuff. So Batman gets the crime bosses to settle down, and then he tells them he's interrogated half of the snitches basically in Gotham and hasn't got anywhere, which I don't know why he didn't just then go interrogate the other half, but you know, he decides to meet with them. And then that's when you have your little flashback here, and Batman finds out that it's Tony Zuko eventually here, and that name Zuko brings back the memories with Robin and what he did to the Flying Graysons. And so finally Batman and Nightwing kind of end up in the same place doing their investigation with, and here's the big spoiler at the end of this issue, with Tony Zuko as a free man, and he says, yay, I'm free. He's kind of like Jack in Titanic on the, from King of the World. He's got his arms up, and the helicopter comes and shoots him and kills him, and Nightwing says, you knew about this, Batman, you knew. And I wonder, you know, does Batman know? And is this sort of like in Batman Begins, where you know, Ra's al Ghul's on the train and Batman's like, look, I don't have to save you, and lets him die, which I always thought is the same as killing him, but there's a lot of debate in that. All right, so overall, I think the story is a step down, but the art is a step up. But in the story, I really do like the fact that they use Tony Zuko, and Tony Zuko goes all the way back to Detective Comics number 38, the very first appearance of Robin, which came out in April 1940, and there's the cover there, and they use Tony Zuko there. But I think what year 3 suffers from is if you're looking for the definitive Robin origin story of Dick Grayson, it's not there. There's too much modern stuff, and there's been some very better retellings of the story, especially Batman the animated series. Robin's Reckoning is a much better telling of the story, and it uses flashbacks and flash forward. Batman Forever is actually okay retelling, although there's no Tony Zuko. And even the Batman animated series used Tony Zuko and was much better. So if you'd like a much more in-depth review of this, Rob and episode 3 of Rob and Everyone Loves the Drake, I'll put the link right down there below. He gets more into it, and this is the first episode where he actually has the comic and isn't doing it digital. So he'll talks about how it smells and gets into a lot of the smell of the comics, and goes over all the ads too, and starts talking about the ads and reminiscing about playing video games as a child. So it's pretty fun. So go ahead and check that out. I'll also put down some links to the issues that I've talked about and the shows, and that's it. So thank you, and see you next time. Okay, so I thought I'd make a reaction video. So here's Danielle. I may not post this, don't worry. Okay. She's getting ready for her breakfast, and I was recording my video, and she asked me, does your friend Rob really smell his comic books? So I'm going to play for her the beginning of Robin, Everyone Loves the Drake podcast.
Gosh, he does.
Number 3, and just listen. Ready?
Can you smell that? I love
brings back, what? Am I the only one that smells my comics?
Yes, you are!
I am? Alright, let's get on with the show.
Oh, God.
Do you ever smell comics?
No.
No.
Why is he... you know what? Smell your comics. If... Oh, crud.